Hello. Happy Friday for all you workers out there. So I'm sure you're glad it's Friday. I am here with you. Today is February 28th. And as I told you, if you've been listening to my shows, today is what would be our 39th wedding anniversary. See us here? See how young we are? I'm going to show you this picture. How young we were. Oh my God. Bill looks like he's 12. So I'm going to leave that picture up there. And today is more going to be about kind of getting into the story of us. I'd be honest with you, I'm not particularly in a really up mood. I know Bill's been gone 12 years. And it doesn't really matter. They say some people do better than others with the passing of their of loved ones. So I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm only talking about Lynn. And I miss him. I won't lie. I miss him dearly. So a little bit about it. We were married 28 years. As all of you probably know, everybody's watching this show know the story. And I'd already told you on a couple shows ago about the wedding, all the red flags. And you know what? There could have been a million red flags. It wouldn't have made any difference. We were meant to be together. There's too many weird things. Bill and I don't think I ever told you this. We lived literally 5 minutes apart growing up. He was across the street in a neighborhood down the street, but he didn't go to my junior high. He went to a different junior high, but we went to the same high school. Actually, all his brothers and all our family all went to the same high school, and my two older brothers knew his two older brothers. So it's just a weird little, it's like it's just was I guess meant to be. For the longest time, I didn't believe in that kind of stuff. Things are meant to be, this and that. But now, where I'm in my life now, I totally know Bill and I were supposed to be together. There's just too many weird coincidences, and there was a reason. Obviously, somebody put us together. I don't know who, because um, we were 22 when we got married, and I was way different than I am now. I mean, I still was fun, of course. I was still a partier, of course. Had the big heart, but I was a very insecure, very down on myself person when I married Bill, and our family, opposed to his family, were different. They were just different people, and the one thing I got from Bill's family that I started to share with our family is hugging each other when you say hello and when you say goodbye. That was something we really didn't grow up with. And I'm not getting into that, but when I met the Haydens, they were just so loving and everything. They had four boys, so I was the first girl. And Bill Hayden Sr. loved sports. He loved the Cubs. I was a Sox fan, so we always had a lot of fun with that. He used to give me funny gifts at Christmas from the Cubs. It was always funny. And we loved football. And he once said to me, "You're the son I never had." And we laughed about it because I could talk sports. His four boys were not really into sports. Um, Bill later got into football and the Cubs as much as I was into the Sox, and he loved, the Bears, but they weren't really athletic type. The Haydens were more book smart, intellectual people. Harrington's, my side, hardworking, goofy, just, going 110% kind of people. Smart, but just not book smart. Although my brother Scott is book smart, but so but Bill taught me so much, and he changed me so much. He made me into the person I am today. And he opened up, he showed me really what love was. It was something I hadn't felt a lot. My parents, they loved us, but they didn't know because they didn't get it when they were growing up, so they didn't really know how to show it with us. So, but Bill and his family sure did. and then just growing. So Bill and I were together almost 9 years. We were married before we had our son Michael. So I was 31. I was 22 when I got married. I was 31 when I had Michael. And we like to say we were just on a long honeymoon. Um, our first year was we used to call the first year of our marriage I don't care year. Because you're getting used to each other. We had never lived together. We didn't do any of that. So the first year, you're getting ready. You want to go do something? I don't care. What do you want to eat? I don't care. What movie do you want to see? I don't care. It was like that, and I mean, not every single time, but we went years later. We realized that's really what that first year was, and it was the I don't care year, and then we just had fun after fun after fun. And then one day I decided, um, after holding a friends of ours baby, Bob and Chris's son, when I held him the first time, I was like, and I was the one that didn't want kids. So Bill was along for the ride, but he always did deep down in his heart want kids. And when I held my friend's son for the first time, it was like something clicked, and I was like, and so we got in the car that night. We were driving home, and I said to Bill, "You know what?" What? And I said, "I think I'm ready to have a kid now. I want to have a baby." And he's like, "What?" And he looks at me, and he starts to pull over to the side of the road. I said, "Not this minute, Bill. Settle down, my friend. At least let's get home." So, needless to say, after that, July 3rd, 1989, we had our awesome, beautiful baby boy. And Bill could not have been happier. It didn't matter what was going on. He was born on July 3rd, and it happened to be a weekend, so it was a 4-day weekend, and traffic was atrocious. We lived in Lake Villa. My hospital was in Elk Grove. Was it? It was Lexington Brothers. I think it's Elk Grove, but it was far. So my water broke, and I'm like, shit. And called the doctor. She said, get going. So it took us almost an hour and a half to get to the hospital because of the traffic. It was a holiday weekend. I was like hanging out the window yelling at people, get the fuck out of our way. And Bill's like, honey, calm down. You're going to have the baby in the car. All the while he's smiling. And then we finally got to the hospital, and we had him, and life was really good. It was like it was falling into place. We had bought our house 2 years earlier, so we had a home now, and now we had a boy who was just perfect, and we were so happy, and everything was just falling into place. Bill was now working for my father for heating and air conditioning, and he was working with my brother, so we was learning that business. And if Bill never had gotten sick, I don't know. You know what? That business might still be in our family, but it's not, unfortunately. But had that gone, I always wonder, shoulda, woulda, coulda, what could have been, you can't control that stuff, right? So, but we were just so happy. And then life changed in 1991. 92, sorry. It had started in 91 with the Bill's headaches. Awful, awful headaches. And I'll just give you a little start of what happened. And he was getting these headaches, and were getting worse and worse. So then I said, well, he went to my chiropractor, who we had been going to for years. And he's like, no, Bill, it's not, there was nothing. He tried to, just wasn't happening. He goes, I don't think that's the issue. He goes, you need to go to a doctor. Maybe you need some physical therapy, whatever, but I can't help you. So Bill went to a doctor, regular GP, and you know what that asshole said to him? He was telling him he was having these terrible headaches and this and that. And he's like, what do you think? You got a brain tumor? Now, had not things transpired the way they did so quickly, I would have gone back and the lid now would have been in that doctor's face, and probably would have tried to sue him. Well, you can't really sue him for that, but what a jerk. So, and he didn't really do anything to Bill. So Bill's like, well, can I have a physical therapy prescription? And he's like, sure. So he wrote it to him, and off he went. in the pit of my stomach for now months, I knew it was more, there was something wrong. I just knew it. I knew it. I knew it instinctively. And so we went to the physical therapist. The physical therapist looked at Bill. She looked at his eyes and said, I can't touch you. And he's like, why? And she goes, there's something neurologically wrong with you. And I think I told you guys all this, didn't I? Yeah, I'm sure I did. So, anyways, blah, 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 blah. We ended up, thank God for my chiropractor because he's the one that got us in. So, anyways, that's when it all started. And we ended up going down to Columbus Hospital. And it was from there it took off. So, that first year in February, Bill had a brain surgery to remove the big tumor in the back of his head that the doctor said, do you think you have a brain tumor? And during that, when he came out of brain surgery, half hour later, they had to rush him back in because he was bleeding in his head again. So then he had another brain surgery that day. And it was a long day, very, very long day and night. I stayed at the at the hospital all night with him, didn't leave him. That was a really rough night. And then we moved on, and that week after his first brain surgery, well, he had two that day, um, they had taken a lot of tests. We had gone into the hospital on Thursday afternoon. Now, this was Monday when he had the brain surgery, and during that time, they had done a lot of tests on Bill because we weren't sure why they were doing all these tests, but they're like, we got to do them. All right. And then it turns out that, as I said before, he had, they said, we think you've got this disease called von Hippel-Lindau, and short VHL. And they started to tell us about it, and we're like, what? So it basically attacks your pancreas, your liver, and your kidneys, your head, your eyes, and your spine. It can. For your vital organs, it turns into cancer, most likely. Your head, it's always just has lesions, so there's lesions that could grow, which that's what caused the first brain tumor. And then lesions on your eyes that can make you go blind if you don't have them taken out. So we're like, okay. And then they told us we're going to have to do another thing now because your husband has this disease. He's going to have a lot of surgeries, we're pretty sure. So we're going to have to put a shunt in his head. So basically, they put a shunt in his head so that the fluids would naturally flow. And they thought that was the best thing to do because of further surgeries. So we had that done. So now a third brain surgery, right? And then in March, he had one kidney removed. It was full of cancer. And then the second kidney was removed. And so now he has no kidneys. And then now he has to go on dialysis. This is now April. So I'll start it in February. And then they realized that the shunt that they had put in his head was draining down to his belly. Well, he was put on what they called peritoneal dialysis. And what that is, there's two forms of dialysis. There's hemodialysis, which is the best, actually, the blood dialysis, where it, for 4 hours, takes your blood, cleans it out, and puts it back in. And then you're good for a couple days and you got to go back. But that's pretty tough on the body. It's hard because you have to, live by their schedule. You got to watch what you eat and drink a lot, which you did on the other one. Peritoneal dialysis was they put a tube in your belly, and in your belly it's an empty cavity. So they put the peritoneal in. So what they do is they give you this bag. You hang it. You drain it into this tube. It goes in your belly. And what that does, and it sits there for 4 hours, and it pulls the impurities out of your body that the kidneys are supposed to do. Basically, the kidneys in a simple form are like the toilet. They clean all the crap out because when you pee and poo, you're cleaning the crap out. And so it was on that. And then they realized, one of them got it in their head, that shunt is the fluid from his brain is going into his belly with the solution of the dialysis, and they knew that could be a problem. Okay, well, go back a few months. They should have known that because they knew he was going on peritoneal dialysis. Should have sued the ass of the nephrologist, the I think that's what you call the kidney doctor, but we couldn't. Another story, another day. So then he had to go in and have the shunt moved, and so what it did was it was running here, it was running up into his chest, so that by the time it flowed down, it wasn't going to disrupt the dialysis. Well, when they were in there, they punctured his lung, and now I know that lung, because it's just tissue, is very, very painful. So when they realized that, when he got back when he was back in recovery, and they knew there was a problem, they're like, "We have to go in there and fix it." Bill, I've never heard Bill swear so much in my life. All 16 years of the hell he went through, that was one of the few times he swore at them because it hurt so bad. So they had to blow the lung back up, blow air into it, and fix it, the hole, and it was fixed. But man, was he pissed. And, again, should have owned that hospital. But you can't sue a group of doctors that you know you're going to need the rest of your life because you need them. And they were good. They were downtown. This hospital was in Chicago, and so we lived down there. And then, so he had that done. Now he's on dialysis, and his blood pressure and everything was all over the place. So they're trying to figure this out. And so by the end of June, they were like, everything was settled. So what he had to do was every 4 hours, Bill would have to put the fluid in, wait 4 hours, and then he would drain out the bad crap that the dialysis sucked. And he would have to do that every 4 hours. And at night, there was a night machine that he would hook up to, and it would do it while he was sleeping. So then he could work. So he was going to try to go back, and he did. He went back to try to heating and air conditioning. It wasn't, it was going to take a time because he had been down on, since February. He had so much stuff. 4 brain surgeries, lost both kidneys, and a few other small things in between. And we were just, the stuff was being thrown at us, thrown at us, thrown at us, thrown at us. It was just insane. Looking back now, I don't know how I got through it. Now, this Lynn would have done things a lot differently back then, but we got through it because I learned so much within that first year, and then I became a different advocate because I learned so much. So he went back to work, and then August hit, and all I'm gonna say is, and my sister got married in July that year, and Bill, I gotta say, the only good thing is I lost a ton of shit. I went down 2 dress sizes. So I was my sister's matron of honor, and I gotta tell you what, I was looking hot in that dress that I looked, because I was down 2 sizes. I was skinny because I was always at the hospital. Remember, the hospital is down in Chicago. We lived in Lake Villa, so that was a good hour plus drive every day one way. And, I had my son in daycare, so I had to pick him up at night because I was, always at the hospital. And then when Bill finally came home, and but I got looked pretty hot at Kathy's wedding, my sister's wedding. And Bill filmed the wedding. Bill took all the pictures, he filmed, so it was really cool. That was a joyous day. That wedding was it's still in my top 3 of best weddings, Tom and Kathy's wedding. And then August hit. And everything really got crazy. And all I'm going to tell you today is I'm going to leave you with Bill ended up having a grand mal seizure at 5 a.m., woke me up. I'm like, what the hell, And I didn't know what was going on. I thought he was having a stroke because, remember, I told you his blood pressure was all over the fucking place. And I called 911, and then he sat up, and he was just sitting there looking at me. And I called 911. She goes, what is he doing? I go, nothing. I don't even think he knows I'm here because I was doing one of these, and there wasn't anything going on. She's like, okay, stay on the phone. Then I said, well, I got to call my brother-in-law and my sister to come get my son. So I hung up, And she's like, okay, okay. And she's like, well, the ambulance is almost there. So I called them to come get my son, Michael, because he was 2 years old in bed. And I didn't want him to see any of this. And then Bill, when the ambulance people got there, they had to call for more people because he had another seizure. And he, when you're in seizure mode, you are like 100% stronger than you normally were, right? And he was flipping them around and he was swearing, but it wasn't him because he was having a seizure. So they got him to the hospital. And I'm going to stop after I tell you this story. Um, so he's in Condell Hospital. Now, this is in 1992, so it was way different. Condell is a trauma 2 hospital now, so good hospital now. 92, bad hospital. Their emergency room didn't even have rooms or anything. There was and they were like curtains and stuff. So, anyways, we get there, and I tell them everything about him. He has no kidneys, blah, 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 blah. And they kept giving him medicine because he kept having these seizures. And I went out to have a cigarette to get my composure. My sister stayed in the room with Bill. And I came back and she's like, Lynn, they put a catheter in Bill. And I'm like, what? Now, if you don't know what that is, it's for people who are unconscious. They put it up their little pee-pee and it pees for him, right? Well, he had no kidneys. And you don't urinate if you don't have kidneys. Now, remember, we're at the hospital. So I called the nurse. I said, you put a catheter in him? Yes, ma'am. I said, I told you he has no kidneys. Yes, ma'am. I said, we need a new nurse, doctor, whatever, because you don't urinate. Oh, and I said, get that fucking thing out of him now. And that's when I knew we had to get out of there because then they came in and said, your husband's going to die here today. Oh, okay. So I got on the phone Sunday morning. I get on the phone with my doctor downtown. The neurologist is who I called, and I got him. And he called me right back, and I told him, he's like, all right. And I said, they said he's going to die. And so he talked to the doctors. Now, this was before cell phones. He called the nurse's station back, asked for me, got me on the phone and said, we're gonna get a helicopter sent there, and we're gonna helicopter your husband down to Chicago, and we're gonna bring him to our hospital. I said, oh, okay. And he goes, we got to get him out of there because they don't know what they're doing. I said, yeah, I know. So I said, well, Bill's going in a helicopter. And so a helicopter came to Condell. They loaded him up, and they're like, we can't take you. And I said, no, me and my sister will drive down to Columbus. And they're like, we'll see you down there. So my sister had this teeny little, I think it was an Escort. So I said, she starts to get in. I said, oh no, move over. I'm driving. So this teeny little Escort, and I looked at her and I said, oh, I don't know if it's going to be able to go fast enough. So I said, it was kind of like a Yabba Dabba Doo car, Fred Flintstone. Come on, Kathy, get your feet moving. Yabba dabba doo. So then we're driving on the expressway, and I was going so fucking fast. That car was shaking. We're like driving. My sister's like, you really need to slow down. I don't think my car could take much more. We got down there, and he was there, and then we'll go from there next time. But it was the coma itself is a show all by itself. I will tell you, Bill was in a coma for a month. And that's what I'm going to tell you. So I know I was going to sing. Well, I could sing. Memories like the corners of my mind. Misty watercolor memories of the way we were. That's for you, Billy. That's really all I got. But I'm just going to say that, we were married 28 years, and out of the 28 years, 16, he was sick with this fucking awful disease that it was just cruel. It was cruel. If you hadn't met Bill, he was one of the nicest guy. He couldn't even lie. He wasn't able to. That's him and I were such polar opposites. And then we got together and I became like him and he got some from me. But he had the sweetest heart. Until the day he died, he was always smiling. Now, behind the scenes, he wasn't always smiling. But when he saw friends and family, he never let them see what was really going on inside of him. I and a little bit Michael, but mostly me, were the only one that really knew some of the things that other people don't know. But that's what makes a good person. When you're with other people, you're not being feel sorry for me. Bill was never like that, never. Even though we certainly deserved, as he did, that badge of feeling sorry for himself. If anybody did, it was Bill because he got dealt a shitty hand. But the good thing is that our love grew into something that I never thought it could. I loved him 100% more than I did the day I married him. I just did. I was more in love with him then. And don't get me wrong, was there ever times I was down and wanted to chuck it all? Yes. But that's human because it was so hard. And but I would call a friend and she would make me laugh, and by the end of the conversation, she's like, "You feel better?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't even know why I called you because it was over. I just had to vent." But I loved him so much. We were a pair. Um, and you didn't fuck with him because if you did, you had to deal with me. And many doctors later down the road, no. And I will tell you, he was just a special human being, and I wish everybody listening could have met him because I know some people didn't. And and again, I don't want this to be a sad show, but I guess it kind of is. Um, but we, even with all the things I'm going to tell you throughout the next few weeks, the stories and this and that, we always managed to laugh. We took trips. We did things because after a while, Bill and I knew he was not going to live to be an old man. And so we had to make sure that we enjoyed what we could when we could. And that is something you should remember because life is short and we take advantage of it. And people who are sick, God bless. And the other thing is, this goes out to caregivers. People forget about caregivers. Whenever you walk into a room with somebody who's sick, they immediately go to the sick person, and they should. How are you? And this and that. But no one ever asks how that person's doing. And in the 16 years he was sick, I was not asked very often. And that's okay because I get it. But now I see. So now I always reach out if I see somebody taking care of somebody, and saying you are special because Bill and I were put together because they knew Bill was going to get sick. And they needed a badass, mean bitch to take care of him. That was me. But I can be happy too. And we laughed a lot. But I did take care of him. Nobody, after a couple years, I was on the ball, man. Nothing got by me. So, but yes, there's so much I could say about him. But I was blessed because he loved me. And I know it. And he always boosted me up. He never let me put myself down, which I did all the time. And he was always there for encouragement. I could always count on that. And I was blessed in a lot of ways. I tried to separate the anger from what happened, and it took me a really, really long time. But I'm still there a little bit, but not so bad. So this tough, angry bitch is here now, and she's going to tell the story. So, excuse me, I'm sorry this wasn't a happy, bappy one, but it's starting to give you insight. And then I just want to tell the story a little bit because there's so much cool stuff to talk about that happened. And you'll see really what that man went through. It was it was incredible. He was an incredible human being. And he was taken to us from us he was only 49 years old and still a little sore about that. And I miss him today like it happened yesterday. I'll never stop because I love him. What can you do? So give me another, keep on listening. I will make you laugh because the stories that are coming up about it, there are some funny stories in the hospital and some of the things that happen. And don't miss the coma one on Monday because I'm telling you what, he was in a coma for a month, all right? And I was at the hospital 7 days a week for probably 10 to 12 hours every day, along with a couple of his brothers and his mother. So you can only imagine what was going on in that room. That's your tease. And then next week, I'm also going to start another new segment. And I'm going to incorporate that. And you're not going to want to miss that. So, on that note, I want you to smile and be happy today. Smile to a stranger, say hi to a stranger, and help somebody out if they need it, particularly today or this weekend in honor of Bill. Okay? And in honor of this tough bitch that somebody made sure Bill and I got together so that we actually took care of each other. He took care of me, and I took care of him. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? At the end of the day, all of us taking care of each other. I'm just saying. So listen, keep on rocking and rolling. You know that. And make sure you tune in to the next Vegas baby show because I love you guys and I want you to watch me. My viewership has gone down and I'm a little disappointed. So, oh well, what are you going to do? I guess people just don't appreciate good art. That's all I'm saying. So, again, thanks for watching the Vegas Baby Show starring me, Lynn. All right, so keep on rocking and rolling. God bless. Have a great weekend. Oh boy.